Well, with me today is Matteo Franceschetti. Is that how I pronounce that?
This is the funniest part of all the podcast I do.
So did I pronounce your last name correctly there?
It's Franceschetti.
Franceschetti?
Yeah, that's good.
All right. So I take it from your accent, you're not from the States either.
No. No.
Easy giveaway. So anyway, you're the founder and co-CEO of EightSleep. And so
CEO.
CEO?
No, CEO.
Okay. Yeah. And so I understand y'all are advanced technology for better sleep. So yeah. I was taking a look at the company and what y'all do, and it obviously fits well into the podcast and rest and recovery and my personal pursuit in just trying to kind of reclaim that aspect. And it seems like it's a broader issue in our culture, not just in the United States, but globally. And what I've heard from the past is in other interviews is the compounding effect of that's one thing we can definitely control that can really influence our overall wellness. So I'm interested to see kind of how y'all came to the conclusion in integrating, a mattress that you don't think of technology with technology. So thanks for the time too.
Absolutely.
So Matteo, maybe start from the beginning for you is like, how did you kind of come to this conclusion of leveraging, technology? I'm someone that uses a number of devices of endurance running. So wearables has been out for quite some time, has exploded, but IoT, Internet of Things, is really getting into every corner of the planet, it seems like. And you're part of that kind of advanced evolution of, leveraging technology where you wouldn't necessarily consider it, or at least I wouldn't. So how did you kind of come to that conclusion on creating EightSleep?
Yeah, so before starting the company, I was already an entrepreneur. And I was the typical entrepreneur, working really late, working long hours, being stressed out. And I started looking into sleep because when I have always been an athlete. When I was a teenager, I was a ski racer, then a tennis player, and then I raced with cars in motorsport. So I have always been really into performance and sort of productivity. And so after I sold my previous company, I started looking into sleep, and I started wondering why Elon Musk is taking us to Mars, and we're still sleeping on a piece of dumb foam, spending a third of our life on a piece of foam, right? It does not make any sense. We live with our phones. We have technology is everywhere in our life, except for a third of our life. And every night you just go to bed and you expect to fall asleep magically and to wake up rested. Particularly if you are an athlete, as you are, you expect your body to recover on its own magically for
right.
whatever reason. And the same reason that didn't change for the past 2,000 years, because again, we didn't make any improvement. There are these rules that you should stop using technology a couple of hours before going to bed to really wind down. That's the best you can get, and maybe a melatonin pill. And so with my co-founders, we came up with the idea that maybe technology can help us improve your sleep performance, your sleep efficiency. And so our vision is, in 10 years from now, maybe you could sleep only 6 hours and get more rest than when you were sleeping 8 hours. And second, your bed could become a medical grade device that tracks everything about your health. So going to bed is more valuable than going to your doctor for a health checkup. And that's the technology that we built.
That is really awesome and fascinating. Yeah, I mean, I can relate for sure. As I mentioned, my own personal pursuits and trying to understand the key metrics. And one in particular that it seems like you're able to do is heart rate variability. That seems to be like the holy grail of quality of rest that kind of leads to your, instead of 8 hours to 6 hours, the quantity versus quality debate. So what kind of technology do you all use within the bed to kind of monitor those different things, and how accurate is it relative to, like we mentioned, wearables? Right now I've got like 3 on me, measuring those, and how does that kind of compare, as in you mentioned the medical grade?
Yeah, absolutely. So our hero product is the pod, right? And the pod is the first and only mattress that can track almost anything about some of your core biometrics, and then also improve your sleep through thermoregulation. So it can heat and cool each side of the bed at a personalized temperature. Is embedded with sensors. So we use several different sensors that are inside the mattress itself, inside the technology. We use a technology called ballistocardiography. And your bed streams all the data that it captures to the cloud, where we run machine learning and AI, and there is where there are all our algos to potentially reach this medical grade accuracy. So one of the areas where we are the most accurate is really on the heart rate detection. So you can think of the pod like if you were sleeping on a stethoscope. You know, when you go to the doctor and the stethoscope, and the doctor puts a stethoscope on your back, it's
Right.
the same concept, but it's 3.0 and is Wi-Fi connected, sort of that thing. We built a medical grade lab in-house. So we bought a medical grade EKG actually, in-house. And we have run a bunch of different tests comparing the pod to the EKG. And this brings two kind of benefits to us. First, it tells us how accurate we are compared to an EKG. And second, as you collect EKG data and pod data, you can compare them. And then our machine learning engineers use the truth data from the EKG to adjust our machine learning models. So whatever we have today, tomorrow is going to be more accurate, and the following day is going to be more accurate, because as we collect more data, we fine tune our algos. Right. If I remember correctly, and then I can share the exact details with you, but we are within 1 heartbeat per minute compared to a medical grade EKG. The difference is that on the pod, you don't have to wear anything, you don't have to charge anything. You just go to bed as you did last night, and then in the morning you wake up and magically you have all this data. Wow. Obviously, on one side, we track heart rate at rest, right? But we also track heart rate variability. And as you were saying, heart rate variability is a great indicator or a great proxy of how rested you are, how much your body recovered, in particular from physical stress more than mental stress. And one of the things you should look at is, okay, what was your HRV in the first deep sleep phase of the night versus what was your HRV in the last deep sleep phase of the night. Obviously, HRV values are personal, meaning they change based on age and gender and training, overtraining, so multiple different factors. Right. But the key thing is to wait for some time to really understand what is your average HRV. And now we are actually working on a feature where we will notify you automatically if your HRV is below a certain threshold, in particular if it's below your average threshold.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, and that was one thing for me as I investigated HRV further, you know, monitoring myself on various devices, is really getting a handle of, you know, evaluating, is it good or bad, right? And like you said, it takes some time to kind of get that baseline understanding. And even from there, I just wonder, you know, what is quote unquote healthy. But at least, you know, you're able to monitor that. And like you said, it's 1/3 of our day. I mean, that, and we're the most still and stable.
Yeah. Let me tell you this, it could be interesting for you. So since March, I started sleeping 9 hours per day. Before I was sleeping more 8 hours. And my HRV went up 14 milliseconds. So 14%. Wow. That was, I kept training the same, so everything stayed the same. I just increased the amount of hours I slept, and HRV went up considerably, because 14%. And you really see it's really gradual. So you really see a line month over month, and it keeps going up.
Oh, that's awesome. And so all that time is, I presume, on an EightSleep bed too. So you mentioned thermal regulation. So that was interesting. I'd like to learn more about, you know, why did you include that in the bed as a feature?
Yeah. So there are a couple of differences between us and wearables. The first one is we didn't want you to wear anything. And the reason is there are a lot of stats saying, you know, that the churn for wearables is really high, in particular after 6 months. So a lot of people just stop using them. Second is just a pain to keep charging them. In particular in the night, if you have to charge them, usually you do it in the night. And third, you don't want to wear anything while you go to bed. Actually, it's the opposite, right? Even historically, we just take things off. No, we don't put things on. So that is the first difference. But the second and more important is we have learned since from the beginning that our customers were saying, yeah, okay, all this data is cool, it's amazing, but so what? And so what customers wanted was us to help them to improve their sleep. And if you look at the science behind sleep, the biggest factor impacting your sleep quality outside sleep medical disorders is temperature. That is the biggest factor. And so we decided to tackle it. And we started looking at a lot of different scientific papers. And we saw that temperature, first of all, your body already changes its own temperature every day, right? It's called circadian rhythm. And so your body temperature changes during the day. In particular, it changes during the night. So usually your body is slightly warmer when you go to bed. As you fall asleep, temperature drops. And a couple of hours before you wake up, temperature rises again, because your body is getting ready to wake up. Okay. What the pod does is we don't reinvent the wheel. We just enhance these changes in your body, changes that your body would already do naturally, in order to help you fall asleep faster, get more deep sleep. There are studies that show that through thermoregulation, you could get up to 20% more deep sleep, get more REM, and also wake up more refreshed. And the way it works is this. So first, when you need to fall asleep, it cannot be too cold, not too warm, but not even too cold. The reason is a lot of people and our customers, they love a very cold bed. But if it's too cold, your heart rate accelerates because it needs to warm up the extremities.
Yeah, like
and that's not good.
Bath or something like that, or you jump in the shower too soon.
Exactly. And so we are using machine learning to let you know what is the perfect temperature for you to still feel good but fall asleep. Then as soon as you fall asleep in deep sleep is when you should be at the coldest. So we are working on even there with AI and ML to really identify what is the coldest temperature that you can stand in order to extend your deep sleep. Then when you talk about REM, it's completely different. And in REM, you need what is called thermoneutrality. So when you get into REM, your brain deactivates a lot of body functions because it's when you're dreaming, right? So you don't, for example, you don't move in REM because it could be dangerous for your own body because you are dreaming. So you're living an experience. One of the things that the brain deactivates is also temperature control. So if it's too hot or too cold, you don't get into REM, because the brain doesn't let you get into REM because it's dangerous for you because there is no temperature control. And so being in a thermal neutrality environment is fundamental, because at that point, the brain says, okay, temperature is safe, we can get into REM. And then to wake up, usually we use cooling again. And the reason is by cooling your body, we accelerate your heart rate, you get out of REM and deep, and you start waking up. So once the alarm goes off, you are already in light sleep.
That makes sense. Especially the cooling on the back end, because why is the reason you often hit the alarm too is just to keep sleeping. It's a good way to kind of just get you on your day.
Exactly.
Too.
Yeah.
So with the totally lost my train of thought. So what is the value? So you were saying about the modulation, that it's able to kind of understand the individual so it can get personalized. So how does the machine learning do that? So like if I buy the bed and I lay on there, does it go at a moderate temperature initially and then it figures out my sleep cycle, like when I might be in REM and things of that nature?
So at the beginning, the first nights is based on people like you, similar peers. It's based on cohorts. So people of your gender and your age, and we make you, there is a quiz, you answer, and based on the quiz, we recommend you certain temperatures.
Okay.
Then over time, it becomes personalized. And so we see what is the perfect temperature for you. Keep in mind that all these temperature, they also change based on the weather and the temperature in the bedroom. And so our machine learning models are able to take that into account. And if there is a heat wave and you're in California, probably we will suggest you a different temperature in order to maintain that sleep optimization, even if the environment changes.
Okay, that makes sense. So, and then, so I'm married, and my wife and I, like, I run hot and she runs cold. And so, like, she wants all these blankets. I don't want them, or vice versa, or what have you. How does that work? Like, is it just the whole bed, or can you personalize that if you're married?
Yeah, so everything is personalized. So each side of the bed has different metrics and it has different temperature settings. And the reason is, or close to 50% of the couples, they fight around temperature. And the reason is really metabolism, is gender, is age, is fat and body percentage, all that kind of factors. And so with the pod, your wife could have a completely different type of settings, both in temperature and in her metrics, than yours.
That is huge value. To that could save a lot of marriages probably too.
Yeah,
If both are sleeping much better based on that.
yeah.
Um, so where's EightSleep going next? Is it continued evolution of the bed itself, using that machine learning to really dial in, or added features, things of that nature?
Yeah, so we really think of the pod like a sort of iPhone. So you will see continuous upgrades, obviously software continuously, really probably on a weekly basis, and also on the hardware. An interesting feature we developed is if you bought Pod Pro, which is the current, right? And in the future, we release the next version of the pod. You don't have to change the whole mattress. You can just upgrade to that. And so you just unzip the top layer of the bed with the technology, and you replace it with the latest technology. So at a fraction of the cost, you can always upgrade your mattress. So instead of buying one thing and keeping it for 10 years, almost every year, so you can just have the latest technology at a fraction of the cost.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, because I mean, beds seem to be all the foams and all that. We did one a few years ago, and that would probably, does it help with that also? Is like kind of that top layer again, where you're kind of
Yes.
resetting a new bed.
Exactly. So yeah, you will get the top inches of the bed, which are also the ones that they get compressed the most as you use them.
Right.
And so you will replace that top layer of inches of comfort inches, plus the whole technology and the whole sensors.
So how do you? I didn't ask this question on the cooling aspect or the temperature regulation. How do you do that within the mattress?
Yeah, so is a liquid solution. There is a hub that sits next to your bed, a beautifully designed hub, and there is a thermal engine there. And we run this liquid within your bed is water, so it's completely natural. And through that, we can heat and cool anywhere between 55 degrees and 110 degrees
Okay.
for each side of the bed.
Each
So
side.
what?
Wow.
Yeah, one side could be a 55 and the other one could be 100.
Just from the one box.
Yeah.
Got it. And then with it being technology, right? You have these small sensors, and you're seeing more and more on technology and EMF related, um, energy from it. How does that regulate relative to the sensors in the bed?
So you mean compared to the electricity in the house?
Yeah, or other devices, that talk about the different, because it's using Wi-Fi, so EMF.
Yeah. So on the EMF side, we don't see any problem and any complaint. It really connects just to your home Wi-Fi.
Mhm.
If you deactivate the Wi-Fi in the night, you can still storage the data. And once you reactivate it the following day, you will still find all the data. So we don't create any new net, right? We just connect to your current Wi-Fi.
Got it. Got it. And so what's the value to folks who would use this? I mean, whether it's high performers or the mom and dad.
Yeah. Yeah, couple of different values. So first of all, a lot of athletes are using our product, and several different type of top performers. The reason is we really improve your sleep performance, your sleep efficiency. So the goal is to help you fall asleep faster, get more REM, get more deep, and wake up more refreshed.
Sure.
So and the end goal in 10 years again is to compress your sleep and get more rest faster. Then there are simply people that sleep hot. And so just by sleeping cold with our technology, we see that we can reduce their number of wake ups in the middle of the night. We can reduce the number of toss and turns. And then there is the problem of couples, like what you are experiencing with your wife, different preferences. And so your wife will have a very different temperature setting from yours. There are women in menopause, they have hot flashes, and so they use our technology as well. And so we really cover a very broad variety of audiences, and we solve the problem for all of them.
Yeah, it sounds like it, because you can, adapt it to their unique circumstances. Like you said, if you're a performer or athlete, it can help your body recover naturally or facilitate that, innate ability to heal and the intent of sleep, right? That's why we're
Yeah.
sleep 1/3 of our life.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, what you get as an athlete is if you can get a more restful sleep, because there are less wake ups, there are less toss and turns, and maybe there is more deep and more REM. All these factors impact on your recovery, right? Because it's better sleep. And in particular, if you need physical recovery, deep sleep is the one that matters the most. And so our goal is to help you fall asleep faster to get more deep sleep.
Yeah, that's awesome. So from a mattress company, what's the kind of the price point for the pod?
Yeah, so there are two options right now. Obviously, the hero product is the pod, is a whole mattress. It starts at $2,500.
Oh.
And it comes with the whole technology, and it's extremely comfortable. We ship it directly to your house. You can buy it online on EightSleep.com. Now we also have the technology only. So if you don't want to change your whole mattress, you can install our technology on your mattress. So it's a technology that retrofits any mattress. And that starts, I think, at 1,700.
Wow. That is really cool.
Yeah.
So what is it, like just like a topper or?
Yeah, imagine like a mattress cover that you put on top of your mattress, and then there is the hub on the side. So that is the simplest way to start using our technology.
That is really cool. That's a great idea. Interesting. Well, either one is really a good price point, because mattresses are in the thousands for a standard whatever that's been out there forever.
Yeah, you can see, all the premium mattresses range between 4K and 10K, right? So honestly, we are pretty well positioned, and we use high quality foam. The mattress itself is produced by the largest foam manufacturer in the world. All the foam has been tested with specific machines, and we have data about all that. And then there is the most advanced technology for sleep enhancement, which is what we developed.
So that includes like the VOC, like the chemicals and things of that nature that emit from products and such.
Yeah, it's all clean of that, and it matches all the standards and the top regulations in the US.
Wow. Okay. And so you're based in the US?
Yeah, we are based in New York, and we ship everywhere in the continental US.
Okay. Great. So are you kind of looking at ways to partner with other technologies or companies to kind of help augment in any way?
More than other technology, we are really working with obviously some of the top health institutions and universities. So we are running a bunch of clinical studies with, again, universities and health institutions in the US, some of the biggest names. We have built one of the greatest scientific advisory boards with professors from Harvard, Stanford, Mount Sinai, UPenn. And then we have our own medical grade internal lab with a medical grade EKG, because we know how important heart rate and heart rate variability is for athletes like you. And so then in terms of partnership more on the distribution side, we would like to partner with athletes or institution and organization working with athletes to see and prove that our device can help them recover faster.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, awesome. Matteo, I really appreciate the time and really fascinated by what y'all have done with this and really taking a completely different angle on the sleep issue and really addressing things that, especially on the temperature thing, is not an easy task to figure out how to regulate yourself other than pulling on and throwing on off blankets. But that ends up oftentimes creating an issue of sleep in of itself because you end up too hot in the night or too cold or what have you.
A lot of wake ups, a lot of toss and turns, fighting with your partner. Sometimes you feel hot, sometimes you feel cold. All that we don't even notice, but are sleep interruptions. And so it means that you break your REM or you break your deep, and that has an impact over a year if you keep doing it every single night.
Yeah. So on the clinical trials thing, I just had a thought around if it's anything like me, restless leg syndrome.
I do have it too.
Like right now, my legs are just going 100 miles an hour, but I know that's a big neurological challenge that is kind of an unknown in the medical industry. And so is that something you guys are looking at as part of this?
Yeah, because I have it and I have it quite strongly. So one thing where I have seen some benefits is by using the cooling. I don't want to say it solves it because I still have it. Sure. But if it's a matter of mitigating it, I have seen the cooling, I feel, at least from my personal and subjective perspective, that is helping. So I want to explore restless legs and see what we can do to help with that.
Yeah. I mean, progress over perfection, right? I mean, if you can help a little bit and that, like you said, improve the overall mission of you and all of us on wellness is improve the sleep. So if you can get 30 minutes, that's significant.
Exactly. Because, for example, in my case, I tend to wake up, obviously it's seasonal, but I tend to wake up at least once per night. And when it's really bad, I wake up 2-3 times per night with just the feeling of my legs. Right now, I'm moving my legs as I talk to you, even if I'm pretty relaxed. But what I have noticed is I still don't have hard evidence, but I have this theory that there is a sort of correlation with temperature. And I feel that when I'm in an environment that is not too cold, but slightly colder, so still something that I like, but on the cold side, I feel it helps me with my restless legs.
Well, I mean, anecdotal evidence is still evidence, right? That's part of the whole scientific process. Is just that's how you get started, right? So
yeah. So I would like to work on that, and people like you and I and many other, please reach out if you have restless legs. Reach out directly to me, and maybe we start testing it.
Yeah, I mean that would be huge. I mean, like I was saying, the same thing. My legs are always going and shaking tables or keeping my wife awake at night.
Exactly.
Let alone myself, but
when does it happen to you? I'm
when?
curious. Yeah, in the first part of the night, any time of the night?
It's more even during the waking hours than at night. But when I first go to bed is when I notice it. So it's harder to get to sleep for me, but also just during the day, like my legs just, if I stop, they throb. They just ache. What about yourself?
Same for me.
Is it?
So yeah, for me is very light during the day, but my legs, I always move them like I'm doing right now. But what happens, which is incredible, is an hour after I fall asleep, I always wake up with restless legs when I have it. It's always 1 hour. It's incredible, even because obviously I don't have control, right? I'm unconscious, I'm sleeping. Right. But if I check the watch, on my clock, it's always 1 hour after I fell asleep.
Wow, that's interesting. Especially it's the exact same time frame. I wonder, it is supposed to be neurological. So anyway, we can't solve that here, but definitely fascinated to understand that further.
Yeah. Maybe one thing, if you have problems to fall asleep because of that, I think thermoregulation can help you even more to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Because it depends if you like a very cold bed, like most of our users, in particular male users, tend to prefer it really cold.
Yeah.
But at least that could help you relax, and feeling, you know, embraced by this cool temperature could, you know, help you disconnect from the problem of the legs.
I've tried, and I may need to adjust the weight as a weighted blanket.
Yep.
So
We sold them too.
Oh yeah, you
Yep.
sell them too?
Yep.
Oh really? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So I've used that, and that seemed to have helped, but I think it might be a little bit too heavy. So it's, you know, like anything else, you just trial it. One of my daughters uses it, and we started using it for her, and she sleeps so much better.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be interesting. And I mean, if you want to try even just the cover, you ping me, and I'll give you a great deal.
Okay.
And then you just let me know how it goes with your legs.
Cool. Yeah, I would take you up on it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
So I'd like to close out on conversations with a few personal questions, if that's all right. So what are you reading right now?
So I'm reading the last book from Reed Hastings, the CEO of Netflix, and I just completed the biography of Walt Disney.
Cool. So what are you listening to right now, be it music or podcast?
Yeah, so the last podcast I listened to was Peter Attia.
Yep, Peter.
Yeah. I'm really into that. So I'm a sort of biohacker, and so I like to try anything on my body to improve performance.
Yeah. He's been referred a few times, and I'm definitely in the beginning stages of the biohacking as myself, but trying anything I can. So, what is your go-to rest and recovery method?
So I use the Normatec boots.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
love them, and so sometimes I use them before going to bed. And if I nap during the day, I tend to nap 20 minutes, which is awesome when I have the time to do it, and I do it while I'm using the boots.
Okay. Have you noticed any difference going to bed in your restless leg?
Yes. Again, it does not solve it
Sure.
completely, but my feedback is that I see some benefits.
Awesome. I was curious about that. Like we were talking about the
Exactly, the compression.
compression.
It helps because it also helps circulation. And to me, my restless legs is in the bottom part of the leg, and so the boots, they really compress there, and
Yeah.
so that helps me alleviate the pain.
Okay. Interesting. Well, cool. Matteo, thanks again for the time. Grateful for it, and best of luck with EightSleep.
Thank you very much.